Here is your DC update for the last week. A lot of things have been in motion over the last week, and I wanted to make sure I hit on these things in this video. If you like these videos, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. I'm going to be bringing you DC news from now until I either boycott DC and Warner Brothers entirely, or until things get a lot better. But for the meantime, I'm on board with everything that's going on until they go in a direction that will be inexcusable. But let's talk about the news for the last week. Some interesting developments are going on. And first of all, I want to talk about the Restore the Snyderverse movement that's going on. Hashtags all over social media. YouTube has some. We've got them on Facebook, but the biggest one is Twitter. And in fact, it is trending on Twitter, and it's trending big, and it's not slowing down. My feed is all Restore the Snyderverse hashtags. And they've even started some other ones for getting Batman and the Deathstroke movie going. So Deathstroke on HBO Max. There's a lot of fans that are really being vocal right now, and who knows if the studio is going to listen. But we're going to keep it up. And I'm posting almost daily on my Twitter account to Restore the Snyderverse, and hopefully we'll get to see the other two movies in the series. But we'll see how that plays out over time. But if the Flash movie information is true and they're going to get rid of all of these actors and kind of wipe the slate clean, I'm going to be done with it. That's where it will end for me. In fact, I'm not even going to go near the Flash movie until I know what it contains and if it's true or not what they plan on doing. Now, at the same time, you have The Rock, who actually has come out and said he wants to produce Man of Steel 2. His agent is the same agent as Henry Cavill. So they're kind of buds off screen, it seems like, and they're in communication with each other, and they have the same agent. So that's good. And if we have The Rock right now has a lot of clout in Hollywood. He's got his own show on TV, this sitcom that just started. You've also got the, I forget the name of the show, the Titan show, where physical acumen that he does. I've watched the first season. I haven't watched the second season yet. I've got all the episodes, but I haven't watched it yet. But he's pretty big in Hollywood right now, and he's doing some big things. So he's not a nobody. He actually has some say. And he is now on board with Restore the Snyderverse. So we've got Joe Manganiello on that, Ray Porter. There's a lot of people who are being very vocal. Now, let's talk about the big thing that happened over this last week. Well, before I talk about the big event, I want to talk about one other thing. There were two movies that were in development at Warner Brothers and were taken off the slate. They said they are no longer developing either one of these movies. The first movie is The Trench, that was going to be a spinoff from Aquaman. That is now done. They didn't give an explanation as to why. There was also another project called The New Gods, which is, anybody who's a DC fan, you're familiar with The New Gods in the comic books. That was going to have Darkseid in it, as well as some of the other people that surround him. And that was in development as well. But they're blaming Zack Snyder's Justice League for stopping that. Now, I have two theories on this, and I want to talk about both the theories just very briefly here. They're saying it's because of that, and they didn't want it to interfere. And my whole thing is, one, if they didn't want it to interfere and they're saying Zack Snyder's Justice League is not canon, why would it matter what they're doing? That doesn't make any sense that they would have to cancel a project if it's not tied and it's not part of the same thing, and Zack Snyder's Justice League is definitely not canon to them. Why would it matter? So that doesn't make any sense for them to cancel that. The other theory behind this that I've had is they probably saw Zack Snyder's Justice League and how good it was and how high quality it was. And they probably know they could never match that quality. And because they would never be able to match it, everybody would end up comparing their version of Darkseid with Zack Snyder's. And Zack Snyder's is truly the real version of that. That's how I've always envisioned Darkseid. So I think that they just would pale in comparison. So they decided to give up. Now let's talk about the last story. This is the big one. The Hollywood Reporter got a hold of Ray Fisher, and he did an op-ed with them and talked about all of the strife on the set of Justice League when Joss Whedon was involved. Massive abuse all around. If the allegations are true that he talked about in this article, and I have no reason to believe that they're not, then there's something seriously wrong with Warner Brothers. They've got an internal problem that needs to be fixed. I would never want to work for that. As a filmmaker, I would never want to work with that company. And I really wish DC had its own division that was separate. I understand they're still owned by them, but it would be nice if DC could be run by people. And in fact, I would say put Zack Snyder as the head of that. He's been an executive producer on almost every one of the DC films so far, even though he hasn't been the director. So he would be a great choice to be the guy who's involved with this. But they're probably not going to go that route. But there are some really big allegations in there. And unfortunately, we're not going to know if they're true right now because some people are under contract. To give you an idea, I'm going to leave a link to the Hollywood Reporter article in the description so you guys can read it on your own. But one of the biggest things that came out of this was that Joss Whedon apparently threatened Gal Gadot's career, saying that you got to do what I say, otherwise I'm going to make you look very silly in the film and I will ruin your career, basically. And if these allegations are true, they've got serious problems down there. And this is way worse than we thought it was going to be or is. And the thing is, she hasn't come out and said anything. And she won't, because some of these events that he talked about, these other individuals are under contract. They have movies coming out like Wonder Woman 3. She's not going to jeopardize that contract and probably can't say anything publicly. So will we find out if these allegations are true? We probably won't. I honestly think they are 100% true. From everything I've read and seen, I have no reason to believe that they're not true. It's the track record behind it. But we really can't make that judgment. We don't know. But in my heart, I feel like Ray Fisher is being 100% genuine. So where does this leave us at the end of the day? Well, there's still hope for the Zack Snyder's, the Snyderverse to be restored. And I really hope that that happens. Warner Brothers needs to tread carefully here, because if they go in a direction that is really going to piss the fans off, then they're going to lose a lot of money. DC Comics will lose money. Warner Brothers will lose money, and it's going to affect their bottom line. So we're going to see what happens. I hope that's not the route they decide to go. I think we've got, numbers on our sides. On our side, you've got all the people with Restore the Snyderverse who want to see it restored. It's the second highest rated comic book movie of all time. Zack Snyder's Justice League was. We've got The Rock in their corner, who's big, and he's, he wants to fight Superman in his film, Black Adam. So I think we've got people in our corner, but then there's still Ann Sarnoff, who's still, her comments are making the rounds. It's disgusting. I'm not going to get back into that. It's in one of my previous videos. You can see all of my DC, weekly updates. You can go back and watch those videos and see what I posted. But she's a disgusting person. She does not respect the fans. She doesn't respect the movement at all. They even came out, Warner Media came out the other day and said that it was so bad that they said that Zack Snyder had manipulated Ray Fisher after this article came out. And I find that to be despicable that the studio would do that. They are trying to drag Zack Snyder's name through the mud. And he just delivered one of the most popular movies that they're ever going to see down there. And it's just unfathomable as to what's going on right now. As a DC fan, I'm treading cautiously. If they really do go in a direction that is going to be terrible, I'm going to be bailing. I will be done with it. I'll still bring the news, but I'm not going to be a part of it, but I sure will make fun of it. And, there was, anyway, I'm not going to get into it, but there was a time where I was going to start a YouTube channel called I Hate WB and DC prior to, them releasing the Snyder Cut and all this stuff happening about a year and a half ago. And I was really going to do a series on everything that Warner Brothers has done over the last probably 4 decades that have ruined a lot of these DC movies. And it's just disgusting. Warner Brothers is a disgusting company. And the heads down there just really are, they're terrible. There's no other way to put it. So we're going to see shortly what is going to happen. Now, a lot of people think David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad will end up getting released, but they're obviously going to wait. And I do believe this as well. They're going to wait until Suicide Squad gets released in August. They'll probably wait a couple weeks, couple months, and then maybe announce something with his cut coming out. I saw something today on Twitter. I don't know if it's true, but I saw that his cut runs in at like 2 hours and 22 minutes or something like that. So hopefully that all comes to fruition. But these people who are talking about this are right. They will not. Warner Brothers isn't going to announce anything until that movie comes out. There's no way they would impede the performance of that film by announcing David Ayer's cut getting released. And I'll tell you who's smart in all of this is HBO Max. They know what's going on. The heads of HBO Max, they understand, and I think AT&T does too. There's a dynamic with the trifecta here, and it's Warner Brothers that is kind of messing things up right now. They need to be exercised. They need to be gone. But we'll see what happens. I really wish DC was its own studio. I really do. And they were independent of Warner Brothers entirely. I don't know if that'll ever happen. I don't know what kind of money would have to be put down for them to let go of the franchises. But I despise the fact that Warner Brothers has DC properties. I really hate the fact that they own DC Comics. It's really disgusting in my eyes as a fan, because we want to see all of this stuff, but they're just getting in the way left and right. Anyway, that's all I've got for you guys this week. Please, if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I will be bringing you news on a weekly basis, and if things get really crazy, maybe I'll do it twice a week. We'll see what happens, but right now, we're at once a week. Maybe as we get closer to some of these big releases, I will do more. I do appreciate everybody who subscribed and is watching. Please share the video, and we'll see you guys next week.